Maintenance Maestros. I'm Melissa from Groundup.ai, and today we're tackling a topic central to both leadership and hands-on work. We're talking about how technology closes the gap between the plant floor and the corporate office. So in our last 2 episodes, we talked about what leaders are looking for, and we also heard a powerful story from Munib, a technician who is building his own path to leadership. So today we're bringing these two worlds together by exploring how tech becomes the bridge, tech that elevates everyone. So grab your coffee or your hard hats and let's dive in. So my guest today is perfectly positioned to discuss this. He is at the forefront of building the very tools we're talking about. And I'm thrilled to welcome Darren Toh, Artificial Intelligence Engineer at Groundup.ai. So Darren, welcome to Maintenance Maestros.
Okay, thanks Melissa. Yeah, I'm glad to talk about tech that elevates everyone. Yeah.
Okay, so I heard a fun fact about you, Darren. So you actually have a background in music and audio engineering. Yeah. So how did this surprising skill actually lead you to predictive maintenance and vibration analysis?
Okay, well, to be fair, it did not click to me at first. It's just that when I started the work over here, when we were actually going through the vibration spectrums. In fact, just to give a bit of background, I actually took a course in vibration analysis. So I'm what they call Category 2 Vibration Analysis trained.
Congratulations.
And yeah, thank you. So basically during the course, we had to learn about how do we actually make sense of this vibration data. And then we have to analyze them both in terms of the what you call time domain as well as the frequency domain. And then when I saw those charts and graphs, right, I said, hey, that's very familiar. It looks like the kind of software that I use in my audio engineering work. And it's really the same thing. I realized, oh, these are just like frequencies and the strength of each frequency, and that's how vibration data looks like. And it kind of makes a lot of theoretical sense because audio is really just vibration but transmitted through air instead of like a physical medium. So it's really kind of like the same thing. So I thought that, hey, that's very interesting. Like the skill set that I learned over there actually applies here as well.
It's transferable patterns and all the analysis. Yeah, okay. So that's a great way to put it. So it perfectly illustrates what we're talking about today, about the technology, and you actually have to listen to the machines first to understand what they are thinking, feeling. Yeah. So let's start with a common perception. So some people will think that technology is actually a threat. It will replace the jobs because there's a lot of news about how AI is replacing people. So we're going to talk about that today. So maybe you could share some thoughts about it.
Okay. I think that kind of that's maybe a more short-term fear that people would have, right? But if you kind of study back the history of everything, like technology has always led people to discover new and better ways to do things. We increase our productivity. So it's like, I wouldn't say that AI or tech is kind of replacing jobs. It actually just makes one person like 10 to 100 times more productive. So let's say maybe you talk in terms of like predictive maintenance, for example, where a very clear example of course is that the old school method of doing it is that a plant engineer would walk the ground and kind of like every day go through their machines because they know the pattern, they know the routines, they know what the machines are supposed to operate at, they know for the signs to look out at. So they can do that, sure, no problem. But what happens when your factory starts to scale, right? Then that's where that kind of comes in, because then it allows you to kind of do a lot more by, for example, physically not having to walk the ground. You can rely on sensors, you can rely on this kind of data to let you perform the analysis at a more macro level instead of a micro level. So that's just one very, I would say, obvious example of how tech is transforming, especially this industry.
Okay. So we would say that it's kind of like augmenting, not replacing the human element. Yeah.
Yes. But now with the added new kind of wave of AI, right, it can even, I would say, give you the more analytical insights even at a deeper level. Because, for example, if the data is all presented on the dashboard, you would still have to do a little bit of your own analysis to kind of make sense of the patterns, where artificial intelligence is there to kind of automate that finding of patterns for you, which precisely is what typically as a plant manager you would need to find. You would need to spot patterns, you need to spot trends, and then to kind of relate how that relates to what's happening on the ground, and then after that take the corrective action.
Okay, so I think that's powerful. It's telling your story without actually saying a word, because the data is already there for you. You don't have to tell your manager that, okay, look at this data, because it's all in the dashboard. So how would you Can you elaborate on how technology helps in this aspect?
Okay, sure. So let's say with technology, right? I think one of the key things also is like how can we make our work visible without actually like saying anything or having to kind of always I wouldn't use the word bug, but always have to keep letting our manager know what's happening on the ground, right? But actually, in a sense, technology is a way to also communicate. It's a new form of communication. So basically, instead of having me to go to you and having like maybe a daily report of what's happening, I can just update the dashboard, especially like, for example, like the work that Groundup is doing. We have, for every alerts or every machines, we have a comment thread where we can tag people, we can notify the relevant stakeholders. So in a way, it's a more efficient communication platform because over there, you are straight away provided with the context, right? Technology is also a way to organize information. And if you think about having a plant with like maybe 100 over machines, a daily report will not do it. Like you probably need an hour, 2 hours to go through everything. So this is really a way where we can kind of leverage technology to communicate without having to actually physically communicate, to kind of bring their attention to the focus areas. In fact, I think another thing to know, right, is regarding this as well, right? Like constantly using the tools that provided, constantly using the technology is very important because kind of a trend that people used to see maybe with the more old school versions of predictive maintenance software is that there's just too many alerts, right? Then it leads to too many false positives and people start to kind of ignore the warnings. And I think actually one way that AI helps, right, is that we are supposed to be collaborative to work together with the software because AI can learn patterns. So if you are diligent in kind of updating the dashboard, updating the threshold, stuff like that, right? It actually makes a very big impact. Because imagine if that, I just kind of ignore the alerts, ignore thresholds, right? And I don't adjust them. And one day something happens and then your boss asks like, hey, why? Oh, because last time got all the false alerts, so we just ignored it. Right? Then of course that's not very good luck because
It's like the childhood story, the boy who cried wolf.
yes.
Yeah, so precisely that. So actually data it's not really about gut feel anymore because on the ground data, sometimes they go and they feel like, okay, this machine is not performing so well, so I have to check it out. So data kind of eliminates that gut feel. It connects the intuition with facts, I would say.
Yes, correct. In fact, to add on to this point, right, like sometimes it may even be a simple case of someone did something on the ground and then it just didn't translate to the data. For example, like maybe they're collecting data, but the way of the data collection was wrong. Or maybe they use some sensor and then someone knocked it off or something, right? Actually, the data on the dashboard gives you immediate feedback. And as the job of like someone who is using data or technology to augment their work, right? They should be mentally already mapping what the data on the dashboard looks like to what's happening on the ground. So I can immediately see, hey, something is not quite right here. Then I can go and check that specific thing and then go and fix that.
Alright, you don't have to do like a route kind of maintenance schedule. Okay, like walk the ground and see the machines on a daily basis. You can just like zoom in.
Yep.
So kind of increase productivity, and that's what we always say. Technology increase productivity doesn't replace you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now we are seeing that we have data in the dashboards. It's visible for both the on the ground staff and for the leadership. So how would this bridge the communication gap in this way?
Okay. So the quite an interesting thing is that because obviously management, right, they kind of have a bigger scope of responsibilities. They don't really have the time to kind of walk the ground, or sometimes they're a bit disconnected with the engineering terms that are being used. But when you have like kind of a dashboard, right, everything is you are speaking what you call the same domain language. Because if everyone is actively participating in this and using the tools, they will know that, hey, okay, this particular machine or it has an alert that is caused by maybe the velocity RMS is exceeding a certain threshold. They know it because the terminology it is on the dashboard. And so when we have like management meetings or like kind of reports, right, you can say, oh, look at the dashboard, there's a velocity RMS is peaking at so and so, and that translates to what's happening on the ground. So management can easily know that, oh, this is what you exactly mean. And then there's a very, very quick way to kind of present information, to have the same language if management needs to maybe even report to upper further management, right, then they have something prepared already.
Yeah. So we talked about now they have a common language and then they can see the data that's quite plain to them presented on a dashboard. So I think this common understanding is invaluable. You don't have to endlessly argue like, okay, I am right because this data is presented this way, or maybe the leadership is right. So I think it eliminates this kind of communication, makes the working relationship more harmonious also, and then productivity and efficiency is definitely at speed. Okay, so for our technicians and looking to grow, and for leaders who are looking to hone talent, how would these insights translate to the small wins that lead to their promotions and bigger roles? Because the last 2 episodes we're talking about like career advancement. So here we want to hear how technology actually aid them in this career promotion journey.
Okay, sure. So there are a few pointers here. So I think maybe the first point I will touch upon is that this, because we have all the data prepared already, right? So actually it kind of lets people on the ground, right, kind of showcase maybe their more critical thinking skills. Because when all the data is presented, I do not need another kind of mouthpiece to just tell me, okay, this is what the data is showing. Because management, they have access to the dashboard. They can do it on their own. They can see everything on their own, right? But what they are really looking for is someone who is able to provide the critical insight of how their own analysis is backed up by evidence on the ground, right? For example, so let's say there are some weird trends that are showing up. Like there's a lot more vibration during this certain month, right? And because on the ground they are aware of the operations, maybe they say, okay, this is because that our system is under heavier load because we are going through some sort of change process. So some of the other machines are maybe running at a lower load, so we get to compensate. So this is something they can say that, not to be alarmed, we can keep monitoring after we go back to the regular schedule and we see how the trends continue. So actually management is looking for those kind of insights. If not, then everyone will just be kind of scrambling, increased vibration, something to check out, something is wrong, do we need to maintain whatever? No. They're looking for someone with both the ground experience, which is why it's still, the experience still counts. Those people cannot be replaced, but they're looking for that particular kind of person with the ground experience and is able to use the tools and technologies to kind of give a full critical insight kind of thinking. And so it kind of highlights to management that, hey, this person kind of knows how to apply critical thinking skills. Maybe they can have a bigger scope of responsibility because they can see the bigger picture. Yeah.
So more strategic overview.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Okay, so what you said, like critical thinking skills, is definitely concrete actions that our listeners can take. So looking ahead and to end off, maybe could you share what does the future look like for predictive maintenance talent, and how should our listeners prepare for what's next? Because AI is constantly changing. Technology is growing at a very fast pace.
Okay. So I think regarding maybe the newer generation of PDM talent, right? Again, the hard skills are still a must. You still have to have like a kind of the insights of how mechanical engineering works, how these vibration data works. But I think the kind of thing that will make an individual stand out is being able to quickly adopt some of the new features that are coming out due to artificial intelligence. Because in the past, kind of the predictive maintenance software was more, I would say, kind of rule-based, kind of expert system-based. But nowadays, artificial intelligence also requires quite a few of like user input because it learns from patterns. So if you're able to kind of work with the tool, then you can get more results out of it. It might not come like right out of the box ready for you because again, I don't believe that there's such a system that is can magically fit every single use case. It kind of needs time to learn from that particular, maybe that machine or from that factory or whatever that you are monitoring, right? So it still requires this kind of human and computer interaction where you kind of like work harmoniously together to gather insights and to make the system learn better in a sense. Yeah, so that's one. And I think the second thing is also tools to increase productivity. So with the advancement of like the past few years, we had ChatGPT, we had like large language models, stuff like that, right? Nowadays people want information very fast, right? So in fact, our team is also kind of building this kind of feature where we are able to put in all the information regarding the machine, maybe some of your machine manuals, some of your kind of like manufacturer OEM guides, and you can query the information to kind of ask like, okay, so what should I do in this scenario? What's the likely cost? Because yes, predictive maintenance AI solutions can give you kind of like what are the generic kind of typical causes of like the symptoms of machine failure. Maybe it's misalignment, maybe it's something else, but typically every machine has its own individual components that is unique to that machine itself. And to identify that, normally we will have to reference the manual, but it will be quite time consuming. Maybe for junior engineers, they may not be very familiar with that particular machine. But with the use of AI, we can actually map these insights. Okay, so let's say, okay, I see that maybe the shaft is having some issues. And then after that, I just query the manual and I say, okay, so what component of this system could affect the shaft, right? And then the AI could just search the manual and then actually kind of just tell me like some of the relevant paragraphs or passages, rather than me having to waste time to kind of go through the entire thing, right? And then from them, I can make the smart kind of, again, the critical thinking to make the smart kind of analysis, say, okay, it could likely be this component. And then when they actually go to the ground and when target that, they kind of know what to look out for already. So it's similar with how doctors nowadays are also using like artificial intelligence tools. They still make the final diagnosis, but they use like the tools, like for example, AI is able to do the pick out patterns in the CAT scans, in the X-ray scans, and then they can say, oh, okay, this is a data point, right? This is a data point for me to take note of. But still, I will look at the whole overall kind of thing, and then I'll see, okay, then how do I make a better diagnosis? So it's really about quickly adopting the tools, but not letting go of the first principles of like the fundamentals of the job. Because imagine if a doctor just purely rely on AI tools, that would be a bit dangerous, right? You still want to have some expert knowledge there. So it's really the harmony of both that I think that kind of leads to a successful career for someone in this field.
Yeah, so it also reminds me of an incident. I had a talk with a friend. She was saying that her daughter said, I know how to drive a car, but the daughter was only like 7 years old because she was watching YouTube and like learning how to drive a car. Yeah, so then her mom said, no, I wouldn't want to sit in your car. It's too dangerous.
Yes,
so it's like similar kind of principles. Like you can't learn everything from technology. It's an aid, but it will definitely not replace learning the driving skills actually.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a powerful message that we heard, and technology is really a set of tools, right? Yeah. So this is all for Maintenance Maestros, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Maestros today. Yeah. Thank you. To our listeners, remember, whether you are on the factory floor or in the office, embracing technology is how you elevate your game. Start listening to your machines a little earlier, use those dashboards to tell your story, and become the bridge that your organization needs. Join us next time for the next episode of Maintenance Maestros.